It's Thursday, January 16th, 2025. Well, we have one more day of nice weather to take advantage of. Yesterday ended up being pretty nice in many areas. Today, a little on the nice side as well, although getting a little bit windy. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Well, for those of you that grew up in the 80s, you know who these two guys are. The Great White North is going to be visiting the lower 48, and really just about all of the lower 48 in the days ahead. As we mentioned yesterday, livestock interest and pet owners, be prepared for a period of severe cold and wind chills and some snow as we get into beginning tomorrow and lasting into Tuesday, as it's looking right now before the Arctic air eases a little bit. Not only that, also, this is where you want to check on the elderly. You want to make sure you check your pipes, your car batteries, those types of things that are sensitive to severe cold like this. Ahead of the front, we are going to have a period of very windy conditions. Very windy conditions from the Rocky Mountain front of Montana to the front range of Wyoming and northern Colorado. You'll see this. When you have an Arctic wave, you'll get a period where winds are very strong just ahead of the front. So we need to watch that. I-80, I-25, the usual windy areas. That'll be something today into early Friday to be prepared for. Now, the Arctic front is going to move very rapidly north to south, affecting Montana first, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and then moving just very, very fast. And it's going to cause some travel problems. As we have reiterated, Arctic fronts like this without a really strong Pacific connection really won't produce a ton of snow. You don't get a lot of snow with these, but when you get 1 to 3 inches, which will be the common total for many areas, that initial snow that falls will melt, then will freeze very quickly on roads and highways and will be covered up by a light coating of snow. There'll be some blowing and drifting back and forth. So while the snow amounts are not impressive, the combination of the rapid drop in temperature, strong winds, and icy conditions will make for very hazardous travel during the day tomorrow into early Saturday in this region. So travelers, keep that in mind. Need to get somewhere, today is a good day to do it. So be ready for those sub-zero temperatures and wind chills. There will be many locations that will not even reach zero Sunday and Monday. Not everybody, but there'll be some locations where getting above zero Sunday and Monday is going to be hard to do. And the overall cold pattern is going to stick through the rest of January. Yeah, there's going to be brief breaks where the Arctic air will ease and you'll get a couple of days where the weather will warm up, but it really won't warm up a lot and it won't warm up for long. So we'll have more snow in the high country as well, as you see in the mountains there of southwest Colorado and the Wind River Mountains of Wyoming, Fremont Lake there. Now, that very deep lake beginning to freeze up and will certainly be completely frozen up by the end of this weekend. And ahead of that Arctic wave up into Montana, clear skies, but little ripples there, little wave action in the clouds indicating changing winds aloft. And you can really see that in the satellite imagery this morning. That little wave we've been highlighting up in the Gulf of Alaska that was going to go up and over the ridge, then southeast into the region, well, it's doing that. And we're getting what we call baroclinic leaf in these clouds forming right here ahead of it. This is showing warm air coming up and over the very cold air up here in north central areas of Canada. So this is the instigator to come south now around the ridge and south. But in the meantime, see all the clear skies? So take advantage of today. Today going to be a good day over a lot of the western United States. But this is where these Arctic fronts can come in and change things very, very quickly. Now, ahead of the front, we do have advisories for wind. You see the brown along the Rocky Mountain front of Montana. Down here in the usual wind-prone areas of southeastern Wyoming, we have high wind watches and warnings. The purple here are winter weather advisories. Now, these are being posted ahead of advance. These are not advisories for today, but what's going to be coming late tonight and during the day Friday. Expect these purple areas to be expanded. When it's all said and done, we're going to have purple probably into all of this area here as we get into the Friday, Saturday timeframe, as the Arctic front slides down the front range and along the divide, and some of that cold air spilling west of the divide as well. So expect these advisory areas to be expanded. And if you're not in an advisory area, it doesn't mean anything. Really, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get the winter weather. Trust me, you're going to get it. So here we are. You can see that 500 millibar low over British Columbia that showed up so well on the satellite imagery. High pressure is building in behind it. Our little high pressure here will be extinguished very shortly. By Friday, this is by 11 a.m. tomorrow Mountain Time. The Arctic front is going to be basically right along this edge right here by around the noontime tomorrow. So things will change very, very quickly in a 24-hour time period. By Sunday morning, we see the full formation of this big cold wave. If you want to call it the polar vortex, you can. You can see a very large organized area of very cold air in the blue. And what you want to notice is the shape of the low pressure trough. Notice how the shape is an oval that is oriented north-south. This is important. The shape of these waves is really important because the oval shape allows the wind flow around the low to draw the air from the very high latitudes very far south. A lot of times these polar vortexes or these big pockets of very cold air in the northern latitudes of North America will be oval shaped, but they'll be oval shaped like this. So you have a more west to east component or east to west component, and the cold air isn't as directed so much to the south. But when they're aligned like this is where you get a lot of cross latitude flow of the air that really drives one air mass very far south in latitude and also pushes very warmer air, much warmer air, north latitude. This goes to show you that when there's a warm up in Alaska, it gets very cold over the rest of the United States, and vice versa. When you get very cold in Alaska, the lower 48 and a lot of Canada warms up. So here we go with the full formation of the trough. This is where the Arctic air gets the deepest, Sunday into Monday. So if we were to take the temperature anomaly and put it into motion here, this starts early Saturday morning, and it goes through Tuesday morning. Now what you see here, I want you to look at really the dark green, the blues, and the purples is where the air is very, very cold. The purple areas especially. And the purple areas mean a temperature deviation off of average of more than 30 degrees, sometimes 50, 60 degrees different. So you can see how much of the country is getting cold. Now you might notice the pulsing of the purple. All that pulsing is, these are in 6-hour increments, shows you where it gets a little bit warmer during the day. But the real persistent purple and blue areas is where it's going to be cold. And look how far south. It goes all the way past the Gulf Coast and all the way down into parts of Mexico, even the Yucatan showing some blue there, feeling the effects of this wave. And so you're going to see a lot of winter weather. So as we showed you yesterday, by Saturday morning, there'll be a lot of single digits, a little below zero, but it's really when the cold gets its maturity, it gets the deepest, is going to be Sunday through Tuesday morning. So these are the overnight low temperatures by Sunday morning. Again, these are just a guide. You're going to see some different temperatures, but the gray areas are what you want to look for to where it's going to be the absolute coldest. This is by Monday morning. The cold air is probably going to be the deepest. These are the wind chill values that will be found Sunday into Monday, pretty severe. And overnight low temperatures Monday night into Tuesday are looking like this. Then we're going to see during the day Tuesday into Wednesday, the eastward shift of the Arctic air will begin to take place and temperatures will begin to moderate. But you're not going to go into a full-fledged Chinook where all of a sudden you're back into the 40s and 50s. That's just not going to come our way. Now let's take a look at the wind. We talked about high winds here in Montana, strong winds here along the mountains west of Cody, then the usual I-25, I-80 corridor front range of Colorado winds, very windy ahead of this front down for you folks in eastern New Mexico and western Texas as well. So you can see how the winds right along the mountains and east of the mountains get very, very strong. Look at these winds here in the Dakotas. That's coinciding with the Arctic wave, just raw. just really cold, very cold wind chill. That's why livestock interests in the region need to be prepared. So when we put it together, looks like this. And now let's take a look at the snow. Snowfall amounts will be heaviest right along the divide, just on either side of the divide, where there's going to be some upslope along the higher terrain. But you can see there's going to be a long stretch north-south that is going to be icy, and enough snow will fall to be a problem. Now the mountains will get some heavier snow, yes, but the water content values are very low because of the Arctic nature of this front. But even in these gray areas here where it doesn't look like a lot of snow, it's going to be enough to grease up the roads, and the snow that falls will be light, fluffy, and powdery and moved along easily by the wind. By Wednesday morning, you can kind of see the southern extent of the boundary of how cold the snow gets. Yes, this actually shows the northern part of Florida possibly getting snow. We'll see if that happens. New Orleans? Maybe. We've been talking about Houston, so you can see the far southern extent of how far cold it gets. Very big lake effect snows. Where the Great Lakes are still open, you're going to still get strong lake effect snowfall, and that's exactly what's going to happen there. As we get into Wednesday, here's the reloading we talked about. This is part of the very, very cold air that goes off to the east by Wednesday. So we see a little westerly flow here. So this is our small, little brief warming trend, which is maybe a day or two next week as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. But this is going to push in another front. This will be producing some snow, and it's going to be heading southeast. Notice the high pressure ridges remain in the same places, so that will continue to direct northern Canada air into the western U.S. So temperatures by late Wednesday into Thursday and Friday of next week drop again. This is by Sunday of next week. There's a reconsolidation of the vortex here. It gets itself back organized again, and we still see the high pressure ridge wanting to maintain itself in the two same areas. So that continues to give us the very cold look for at least a week to 10 days, and it's probably going to go all the way through the end of January. We'll have more details for you tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy today.